Good evening. My name is Steve Jeremiah. I am the president of the Iowa Golf Association Foundation Board of Directors, and normally Hall of Fame sports writer from the Des Moines Register, Rick Brown, would be the MC of this event. He is attending his niece's wedding. In Rick's absence, normally, it would be Chad Pitts, executive director of the IGA. He is introducing one of our inductees tonight. In Chad's absence, normally, it would be who I refer to as the voice of the IGA, Charlie Taylor, but he's introducing another one of our inductees. So you get me. And I don't know how you should feel about that. I don't know how I should feel about that, candidly. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's have some fun tonight, right? We got a great evening here. Before we get to this year's class, I do want to take a moment to recognize where we are tonight, and just by a show of hands, did everybody or most of you get a chance to go over to the place here just across the way? Okay, great. So hopefully you got a chance to view the whole facility at Golf House. It's one of a kind, and we're truly proud of it. It's the official home for the Iowa Golf Association. It's the official home for the First Tee of Central Iowa and the Iowa Turfgrass Institute. And it's also the home for the Iowa Golf Hall of Fame, which is why we're here tonight, and the Iowa Golf Museum. And Golf House, Iowa would not be possible without a lot of the folks in this room, a few of you in particular. I will not name everybody that's a donor because I think it would be most of the people in this room, and we would be here until 10 p.m. However, I do want to say one thing, just a kind of a neat tidbit about this project and about our donors. So we received significant contributions from the Iowa Golf Association Board of Directors, the Iowa Section PGA, the Iowa Turfgrass Institute, and the First Tee of Central Iowa. So think about that for just a second. That's literally just about every association that has anything to do with this great game in this great state. It's an amazing facility. We are very proud of it, so I hope you enjoyed the tour over there. It also has an amazing view. Yeah, you can clap. We can clap for this. Clark, were you clapping there? It also has an amazing view of the 9th hole in the creek course of this beautiful facility called Echo Valley Country Club, which you're going to hear more about tonight. And that's not by accident. You'll hear more about that from one of our honorees. I'm not giving anything away, I don't think, there. I personally have been a member here. My wife Lindsay and I and our kids have been here for over 12 years. This golf course has hosted multiple Iowa Opens. It's been an alternating site with Hyperion Field Club for the Sani tournament since 2013. You're going to hear more about that later as well. And with that, I do want to thank a few folks for doing literally all of the work to make this evening possible. So first and foremost, the Iowa Golf Association staff, Chad, Caitlin, Nate, Carly, and Clint. If you're here, stand up, please. Good-looking group. Don't you two hide in the back. Don't you hide in the back. I will tell you, I've been involved with the IGA for 14 years, a long time it seems like. I get a chance to travel around the country. The IGA staff do more with less than any other association in the country. You guys are absolutely fantastic. I'm incredibly proud to be associated with you. To Matt Mathias, the Echo Valley staff, for hosting this wonderful event, providing an amazing dinner yet again, great bar staff, everything was fantastic. Thank you. To the Iowa Golf Hall of Fame nominating committee, Tom Christensen, Joe Butler, Ross DeBoer, Mike Green, Rose Kubashevsky, Leanne LaRocca, Al Nelson, Jim Cedrel, Ron Van Buskirk, and Jeff Wendell. Thank you. And to the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, Chairman John Brown, John Alson, Rick Brown, Gene Elliott, Mike McCoy, Bob Moreland, Ken Shull, Dave Sargent, Jeff Smith, and Doug Snook. So this is kind of fun. It's also important for us to recognize the current Iowa Golf Hall of Famers who are joining us tonight. So yes, I am going to ask you to stand. And yes, I'm going to ask you to keep standing until I'm done saying everyone's names here, so just please bear with me. From the class of 2006, Bob Moreland. From the class of 2011, Doug Snook and Mike McCoy. From the class of 2012, Gene Elliott and Ken Shull. 2013, John Brown. 2014, Dave Surgeon. 2019, Rick Tegmeyer. And 2023, Joe Palmer. I think I got everybody. Did I forget any Hall of Famers? No. Public service announcement for those of you who were just standing. Once the program is over, we're going to have all of you come forward for pictures. So I know you want to mingle, but when the program is over, you don't get to mingle. You have to come up for pictures. You don't get to mingle. You don't get to go to the bar. You have to come up this way for photos. Okay, public service announcement is done. All right. So with that, let's get to this year's inductees. Our first inductee is Bob Smith. He will be presented by Mr. Doug Snook. Doug, the mic is yours.
Wow. Good evening. First thing I would like to do is to congratulate our inductees this evening. All well deserved, and welcome to the club. To the Smith family, it is with great honor and privilege that I stand here before you to celebrate Bob Smith, one of the great pioneers of our industry. If you want to learn more about the history of golf in Iowa, I really highly recommend, if you haven't already done so, buy a copy of Golden Harvest by our very own Rick Brown. It's an awesome book, goes through a lot of stuff, and I believe if you don't have one, the staff has a few copies that you can purchase. And I was going to say Rick could autograph it, but that ain't going to happen. Anyway, so you should do that. Okay, now let me go back in time. My wife and I, we are stoneware collectors. We have quite a collection. So I brought a little visual aid here today. This jar was probably produced in the 1930s or 1940s. This particular jar had arsenic of lead in it. You must remember that back in the day, the greenskeepers used a lot of very toxic chemicals in their business. And this happened to be one of them. It says poison on it. And a little story about arsenic lead. Way back in the day, most all the greens were native soil push-up greens. And well, with that came earthworms. And with earthworms came worm caps. And with worm caps came upset golfers because they don't putt so well when they got earth caps on. Anyway, so the old-time greenskeepers would take this arsenic of lead. I didn't see this myself. Oh, by the way, this didn't come out of my storage room. I'm not that old. I'm old, but I'm not that old. But anyway, they would spray this on the putting greens, and the story is that they would spray it, and it wouldn't be long, and the earthworms would actually pop out of the ground and do a spiral death dance and eliminate the earthworms, eliminate the caps, and have happy golfers because they putted good. So anyway, I just brought that along. Take you back in time, and we're going to go back for sure. Oh, I want to set one thing straight, because there's been some rumors going around, and it didn't matter if it was old greenskeepers or modern greenskeepers. I want to tell y'all that we never, ever use dynamite to control gophers. Okay, now about Bob. It all began back in 1934 as a caddy at the age of 10 at Wakanda Country Club, where his father, Ted Sr., was an assistant greenskeeper, Jack Welsh, who was the first president of the Iowa Greenskeeping Association. This was the beginning of a lifetime friendship that Bob had with Sarge Fontanini. Bob started working with his dad in 1937 at the Newton Country Club using a hand-pushed greens mower. And actually there's a picture of that in one of the deals there. Bob continued working alongside his dad, and he moved to the Elmwood Country Club in Marshalltown until duty called. Bob then spent the next 3 years serving his country in the United States Army during World War II. After his discharge in 1946, Bob continued working with his dad at Elmwood and would succeed him as a head greenskeeper. Bob then had the opportunity to move to Des Moines Golf and Country Club as the assistant to one of the founders of the Iowa Greenskeeping Association, Bill Keating. With his gained job knowledge and experience, Bob took the head greenskeeping position at Pine Knolls Country Club in Knoxville. During his time at Pine Knolls, Bob converted old-style annual bluegrass greens to the modern bentgrass of the time. He then built a new green on hole number 9 using very, very little tools that were available at the time, and mostly it was just hand shoveling and raking. Bob also set up and conducted some of the first field days at Pine Knolls, hosting a meeting with his fellow greenskeepers. Bob would take the group on the golf course, taking them out and talking about his management programs. Bob covered such things as fertilizer, weed control, disease, weather stress on this turf. It was common in those days for the greenskeeping to wear many hats. Bob, growing up around golf his whole life, was a real asset to the club, helping in the pro shop operation and giving golf lessons to the members. Bob helped start and promote the Pine Knolls Amateur Golf Tournament that attracted top amateurs from central Iowa, such as Sarge Fontanini, Florin DiPaglia, Steve Spray, Bud McCardle. Helping and mentoring his peers was in Bob's DNA. And in 1962, Bob had the opportunity to work with Turf Supply Company as one of the early turf equipment and product salesmen, traveling the golf courses, parks, athletic fields throughout Iowa and Nebraska. As one of the first golf course superintendents to work as sales, and combined with his knowledge and experience, it was like a doctor making house calls. You understand, with the educational opportunities limited, the turf manager relied on Bob to solve their turf problems. Bob would take the time to walk with the turf manager, inspecting their facilities, troubleshooting turf and equipment issues, and helping them with their management programs. Bob was very involved in the Iowa Golf Course Superintendents Association, serving on the board and becoming one of the few superintendents to serve back-to-back terms as president. Bob spearheaded a joint effort between the Agronomy Department of Iowa State University and set up a display at the Iowa State Fair. The display attracted hundreds of homeowners who were provided with a folder for lawn care. The exhibit included different kinds of grasses, lawn weeds, as well as seed and purity mixtures. Bob, along with Charles Calhoun, were on hand to answer any questions attendees had. Bob received his 25-50-year pin for his lifelong career as a golf course superintendent and was awarded the Iowa Golf Course Superintendent's Distinguished Service Award in 1990. Bob is part of 3 generations of Iowa Golf Course superintendents. His dad, Ted, his son, Dan, and Bob is also a member of the Smith family that has a long-lasting impact in golf in Iowa. His brother, Ted Jr., had 3 nephews, Mike, Jeff, our PGA Hall of Famer, and Jerry, our touring player Hall of Famer. Oh, not to mention, seems like all these Smiths are good golfers. With Bob's dedication and influence to the game of golf and to the Golf Course Superintendents Association, it's my pleasure that, and he has earned his place in the Iowa Golf Hall of Fame. In closing, I would like to share a story that I shared with some of the family members. I haven't told this story much. Bob was a very kind and caring person. He was always there to support and help others. Late in Bob's career, he was paired up with a young PGA apprentice just getting started in the business. And they developed a very, very strong relationship. And that is so key to success of a facility, to have a pro superintendent and a club manager who work together and have a good relationship. And he did have a very, very good relationship with this young man. As some of you superintendents and pros know out there, that sometimes this golf business can be, let me say, unforgiving. And no matter how many hours and how many hard work you put in, sometimes the personalities and conflicts arise. Well, that's what happened. And the club let this young apprentice go. Hearing of this, Bob immediately went to the president of the club and told him, quote, "If that's the way you treat people, I cannot work for you," and resigned. I know this story to be true because that young apprentice was me. Now I'd like to introduce Dan Smith, Bob's son, tell some more stories about the Smith family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug. This is nice, good job. Have a drink. So I guess I'll wing a lot of it, but first of all, I want to thank Doug. One of the greatest gifts that Dad, gave to me was getting to know Doug and be longtime friends. So, thank you so much, Doug. I also want to congratulate the other inductees.
Thank you.
You're very worthy of being selected to this honor. I will continue my thank yous with Chad Pitts and the Iowa Golf Association Board. I've worked with you on this for several months and couldn't be more thrilled to be here. I'm so grateful to the Hall of Fame nomination and selection committees who performed the difficult task of creating a new group of inductees every year to select a few individuals from all those who have contributed their talents for more than a century of golf in Iowa is not an easy thing to do. To all those who wrote letters in support of Dad's successful nomination, I sincerely thank each and every one of you. It is a great privilege to be here with my wife, my sister and her husband, Dad's sister and brother, my two daughters, my nieces and nephews. They're all over here. All 6 of his grandchildren are here, and 5 great-grandkids. They have come from Minnesota, Illinois, California, Hawaii, Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa to celebrate his selection. We are very thrilled to accept this honor for my dad. He would be grateful by this induction into Iowa Golf Association Hall of Fame. Now, Doug's talked about a lot of Dad's history and how he got started. Dad was literally born into golf, as Grandpa was a second-generation greenkeeper, as Doug pointed out. He did start as a caddy at Wakanda Club in the 1930s. One thing Doug didn't tell you, and I'm sure if Sarge was alive, he could tell you the same thing, is they most of the time carried 2 bags so that they had a chance to earn 50 cents for 18 holes. He did follow his dad into the golf course maintenance career in 1937 at Newton Country Club, and the mowing of the greens with a hand push greens mower, meaning no engine. In the spring, the first mowing usually included 2 of them pushing it at once. In 1939, the family moved to Marshalltown at Elmwood Country Club. In 1942, as Doug mentioned, he went to the Army. But another thing happened in 1942. My mother and father eloped over a weekend pass and were married. He returned from the Army after surviving the Battle of the Bulge and worked with his dad at Elmwood. Then in 1948 succeeded him as head greenskeeper, becoming a third generation of Smiths to hold that title. In 1950, he moved to Pine Knolls. Doug pointed out several of the things that he was involved in. He was involved a lot. He was a PGA member. He was on, as Doug mentioned, on the Iowa Golf Course Superintendents Association Board of Directors. But he also, as Doug mentioned, he hosted the Pine Knolls Amateur. He brought golf exhibitions featuring Patty Berg and trick shot specialist Paul Hahn to Knoxville. He worked the booth at the Iowa State Fair. He organized area pros and amateurs to entertain patients at the Knoxville Veterans Hospital. And of course, he lit the fireworks on the 4th of July at Pine Knolls. Dad's career changed in 1962. That's when he went on the road as one of the first turf equipment product salesmen. Doug elaborated on that quite a bit. After spending a decade on the road, he returned to being a golf course superintendent for 8 years at 4 different golf courses, but failing health forced him to retire in 1983. My father's love of golf and dedication to the Iowa Golf Course Superintendents Association continued until his passing in 1990. I am sure he would feel the great honor was not his alone, this great, but to be shared by our whole family. We've been fortunate to have 2 fantastic players selected, Jerry Smith and Jeff Smith. Now, to have one of our 4 generations of golf course superintendents chosen would make him very happy. The Smith family has been involved in golf turf maintenance for more than 250 years among 6 of us. Dad would love that having another golf course superintendent chosen reflects on our industry and all the great people involved in the past and in the present, and for decades to come. Playing the game we all love is considered a lifetime sport. The Smith family definitely agrees and can attest to that, having more than 500 years of playing by 6 generations. If Bob Smith were here today, I believe his advice for the golf course superintendents would be, keep up the great work you do and make sure your greens roll fast and true. For all those who play golf, I believe he would say, let your love of the game guide you always. Have fun, keep it in the short grass. For all his family, excuse me, he would tell you he loves you and is proud of each and every one of you. Thank you.